this a metal thing?
Yes. Taste.
David, what is this?
Pretty thick.
Brain.
To kill a lot of people! Just tell me what you want me to fuck!
I have big tits and a tiny vagina.
Oil me up, Daddy.
I can't believe that Bryce prefers big tits. Mistletoe alert. This is back country.
This guy was a real jerk.
How long can Hugo be pregnant?
Chomp, 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 chomp.
Oh, you're such a dick, David.
Okay, everybody, put on your corpse handling gloves.
Ew.
Hoodie Picasso. Horror!
Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk. I'm the lone survivor, Bryce Hanson, and with me this week is a new challenger to the co-host throne, Sydney.
Hello.
Hey, Sydney. Sydney is another super fan. Her claim to fame is she was one of the people from the East Coast that flew all the way to Vancouver to partake in the live screenings. You went to The Fly, or which one did you come to?
I went to Hereditary. I think
Hereditary.
it was the last one you did.
Yeah. So yeah, that still blows my mind that you made that trip. There was actually a couple people that were going to come. You and then the other person had to bow out because she had some stuff going on in her life, unfortunately.
Well, I won.
Yeah, you won. Yeah, we're currently auditioning co-hosts, so if you're interested, I think by this time I'll have a form up where anyone that really has an interest can sign up. There's been a couple people that have raised their hands, and we're going to be going through some people and putting them, through the ringer of recording some episodes with me, and we'll see how it goes in terms of chemistry and how the episodes go. So Sydney, don't fuck this up. This is your chance. It's your chance for minor stardom. So Horror Movie Talk is back. We're back to our roots. We're reviewing horror movies. New theatrical releases always get priority, but we also review older horror movies, both good and horrible. So please make sure you rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. Full videos are available on YouTube. Don't be a square. Be sure to share. Also, check out patreon.com/horrormovietalk, the equivalent of the adult section of our video rental store. Got lots of bonus content there. We'll be recording an afterpod after this episode, so you can listen to that. If you want to add your P to the community pool, go to horrormovietalk.com or call 682-253-4468 and leave us a voicemail, and we'll get back to you on the show, possibly. We got a great show today. We'll be reviewing The Exorcist 2, The Heretic. Been pretty excited about finally watching this movie. This is the first time I've watched it. I kind of wanted to watch this before I watched Exorcist Believer, which is not in theaters now. But I think I'm excited now to see Exorcist Believer because I heard that one was pretty bad too, and it'd be a good comparison for sequels. We'll start out by giving a brief review and our score for the movie. We're scoring a scale of 1 to 10. After we give our score, we'll get into spoilers and take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about the film. And then later on, I've got a trivia game called Exorcist or Not Exorcist. So,
Ooh, exciting.
it's going to be a pretty easy game, to be honest. I'll give you a fact or a plot point about the movie, and you have to decide whether it's a sequel or a prequel to The Exorcist or just another exorcism movie.
Okay.
We'll see. Have you watched many of the Exorcist movies?
I've only ever seen the first one, and now this one. I watched this last night. Those are the only two I've ever seen in this series.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So it might not be super easy for you.
No.
So The Exorcist 2, The Heretic, is available for rent in all the places that you can rent digital movies. We just missed it. It was on Max till October 31st. And then both of us tried to watch it on November 1st.
Yep.
and it was gone. So, in this sequel to The Exorcist, Father Lamont, played by Richard Burton, is assigned to investigate the last exorcism of Father Marin to clear his name of any doubt of faith. Father Lamont finds Reagan spending her time in therapy in a psychiatric institute that appears to be the back rooms of Westworld. Her doctor, Jean Tuskin, played by Louise Fletcher, is testing out a new device that synchronizes hypnotic states, or something. In the course of her experiments and Father Lamont's investigation, we find out that Reagan isn't exorcised, but just mostly exorcised. In the end, we get more Pazuzu than we bargained for. Yeah, The Exorcist still stands as one of the best movies of all time. I watched it this last Halloween season, and it still is my favorite horror movie. It's just amazing. So I've always been intrigued by The Exorcist 2 and the fact that it's so bad that almost no one ever talks about it. Exorcist 2 is widely regarded as one of the worst movies ever made and probably the worst sequel ever made. So how does this happen?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the cast, there's some real heavy hitters. It includes one Oscar winner with Louise Fletcher, who you'll probably recognize as Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and 5 Oscar nominees, including Linda Blair, reprising Reagan, Max von Sydow, reprising Father Marin, Richard Burton, Ned Beatty, and James Earl Jones. So these are all high-quality actors, and it's directed by Sir John Boorman, who directed Deliverance a couple of years before this, and, you know, has some good movies, has a good reputation. In short, it's a bunch of people that should have known better than to absolutely abandon everything that made the original good. Instead of grounding the story in reality and the characters' humanity, to further analyze the nature of good, evil, and faith, retreated to some kind of sci-fi supernatural fever dream. The film feels like it was written on the fly, and that's not far from the truth. There's extensive rewrites. And after its disastrous opening, it was pulled twice from the theater. So it was released, and the director pulled it out of theaters to recut it.
Oh my God.
Twice. And it was still awful. It's just utterly befuddling. There are some scenes, especially involving this hypnosis device, that are so hilariously inept that it feels like they're written as jokes. Like, I'm just amazed that the scene with the Dr. Reagan and Father Lamont in Act 1 was just like, wait, what is happening?
I couldn't follow it at all. I don't understand who is doing what, where are we right now? I don't.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And everyone knows how to use this hypnosis machine
For some
with
reason.
zero training. Yeah. Anyways, if you dig deep enough, you can find some interesting ideas about good attracting evil or the dangers of getting too close to evil, but they're completely overwhelmed by the bizarre choices in the story. It is a very bad movie, but the case can be made that it's so bad that it's good. This is definitely an oddity and just like off the wall in the choices they made, and it would definitely be a good film to watch with friends if you want something to riff on while you're watching it. It is it is crazy. Like I wasn't prepared.
Not at all.
So yeah, I give it a score of 3 out of 10, and that's like the realm of so bad it's good movies, to where it's not a miserable experience, but it's not a good movie by any rights. What did you think of The Exorcist 2?
Yeah, so when I finished it, I turned off the TV, I stood up, and my roommate was like, so how was it? Like, what did you think? And I just started dying laughing, and I was like, it has to be a 3 out of 10. So I completely agree with you. It was just, uh, it was like, it didn't even start off strong. Like, it started off, and I was like, what is happening? Like, you're right. They completely abandoned everything that was good about The Exorcist. There wasn't even any like similarities to it. Like, not even when they did like makeup for like the possessed people. I was like, did they forget who did the makeup for the first movie? Like, where are the special effects that were so insane? Like, there was just it was really funny. It was entertaining because it was so bad, but
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I read a lot of the trivia on IMDb, and it's like kind of a like a case study on how things can go off the rails. Like, you know, there was an original script that kind of had one aim, and then it was rewritten, and of course the original writer runs off, and then there's several times where, you know, there's a casting issue. Originally they're going to write Reagan's mother into the script, and then she got written out, and we'll talk about that in the spoilers, but and then several times that Linda Blair was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that, so they had to change some stuff.
I mean,
so I think one of the choices that they made with it was like they didn't want it to be as exploitational and shocking as the original, because that was like where a lot of criticism was with critics. But then they ended up going too far the other way, and the critics are like, "Where's all the exploitation and gross stuff?" Like,
yeah.
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say I mean, Linda Blair like broke her back during The Exorcist. Like, it was really horrible for her. So I understand if she was like, "Hey, I don't want to do anything crazy." But they could have like gotten someone else to do crazy stuff. They could have. I don't know. Like, it just like a fever dream the entire time. I was like, why are we in Ethiopia? Like, what happened? Like, what is going on right now?
What's Mufasa doing here?
Like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's bizarre. So, I'm excited about talking about it because there's a lot to talk about. But before we talk about it, we want to draw your attention to all the commercials that you've been listening to, and you know, you don't have to. You can go to patreon.com and join in a certain tier, and then you get early access to episodes without commercials. So, you know, it's just throw us some ducats and get that access. Also, I put up the Horror Movie Talk shop again. It's live. Take out some stuff, but we got Horror Movie Talk hoodies available right now, so rush on over there and buy some of them up. Also, check out our resident artist, Dustin Goebel. He's our favorite artist because he gives us art, and you can get art from him by contacting him at dgoebel00 on Instagram and make your artistic dreams come true. Tell him HMT sent you. If you want to call and leave us a voicemail, again, our number is 682-253-4468. Thanks for listening. Let's get into spoilers. Spoilers. Okay, so let's talk. I mean, let's just jump forward to the scene. There's the scene where they're using this hypnotism device, and it's basically just a flashing light that makes a sound. And the lower it gets, the deeper into the person's psyche, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
And then you've got one person on one side, which is Reagan, and then the doctor is going to put on her, headband and synchronize their hypnosis. I mean, they don't explain how this works at all, or like what even the purpose is. They just put on this device and start using it, and it's like, shut up, we're going to use this device. It's revolutionary. And then supposedly, you know, they'll be able to see each other's dreams or something like that. So, okay, this scene, and the father is there. I think it's the first time that they tried to synchronize between Reagan and the doctor.
Yeah.
And so, okay.
It's like 20 minutes into the movie.
Yeah. So, okay. Reagan gets put under, and she's like kind of in her hypnotic state. And then the doctor puts on the headset and is like, okay, Reagan, you talk me down. And so now Reagan is hypnotizing the doctor while she's hypnotized. And then, so you're like, wait a minute, how does she know what to say or how to do this? And isn't she hypnotized? And also what?
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, things go haywire and the doctor starts like convulsing or whatever. And then the priest snatches off the headset from Reagan, I think.
Yes. Yes.
And says, you know, basically, I'm going in. And he goes under and sees like this vision of, it's behind me. It's this scene where
Yeah.
Reagan is like feeling her up, and then he sees a vision of Father Merrin and possessed Reagan as ghosts. But just hold on a second. Just the fact that Reagan just knew how this machine worked and talked down, and then the father was like, hold on, I'm going in, is such a wacky idea. I just don't understand, and it's played serious.
Yes, very serious. Like, it's so intense.
I don't understand how anyone could believe that the suspension of disbelief would not be just shattered by this scene, just because it's like, it makes zero sense.
Yeah,
you know,
because you have like the beginning where like the doctor is trying to get Reagan to do hypnosis, and Reagan's like, no, I don't want to think about like what happened to me in Washington. And then the father comes and she's like, yeah, sure, I'll do hypnosis now, which, okay, like, yeah. Totally makes sense. But yeah, it really just, I don't know how Reagan would know how to do that. And also, why is the demon, like, touching, like, the doctor's heart? Like, I don't, like, there was, like, that weird scene where, like, the demon was, like, going like this. And I was like, all right. But, like, then the doctor is, like, in Reagan's head, but then Reagan takes the thing off, so then the priest has to get the doctor out of Reagan's head. What?
Right. Yeah. It's the correct reaction. What the fuck? What the fuck is going on? My favorite thing about this, I mean, that's my favorite scene of the movie, definitely, by far. But my favorite feature of this device is that how they show on camera that they're like under, that they've gone under. First it shows Reagan, and she kind of does like a cross-eyed, like that.
So funny.
And it's like, is she coming, or like, but then everyone that follows her using this machine, like, does this, it just looks like an eye roll, you know, there's like, and it progressively gets more like sarcastic to my eyes, of just like, you've got Louise Fletcher, fantastic actress, you've got Richard Burton, just fantastic actor, and you're asking them to put on these kooky props and act like they're going under, and you ask them like, oh, you got to roll your eyes to show that you're, you know, going under. And so it just looks like very like, okay, here we go with this shit.
Yeah.
as actors. And it's like, that was funny to me. It was like, because they weren't playing it for like, oh, I'm in an altered state. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm under.
And like honestly, if you hadn't known who like Richard Burton or Louise Fletcher were, and you had only seen them in the context of this movie, you would not think that they were good actors. Like,
Right,
because
right.
the script is so bad. It's so bad, and everyone just doesn't seem like they want to be there. Like,
Yeah, it is pretty rough. And so one of the things about Louise Fletcher, this is what I learned from the trivia, is you see her, and I don't know what your first reaction was, but mine was like, wow, she looks a lot like Ellen Burstyn, like in The Exorcist.
yeah,
She could pass as, yeah, she could definitely pass as Reagan's mom. And apparently, originally, she was cast as Chris McNeil in this movie. Like, the mother had a role, which was basically replaced by... the mother's role was replaced by Sharon, the the housekeeper or nanny or whatever. And then the doctor role was originally a male character.
Okay.
And was going to be, there's a couple people, like, I think Richard Dreyfuss was up for it.
Okay.
Like a couple other, like, men. And then they just decided, no, we're not going to have Chris McNeil in this movie. We'll just have Louise Fletcher play the doctor instead. So,
what?
So, like, all these weird, like, adjustments are just spell the doom of the movie. And, this is only, like, 20 minutes into the film. Like, we just barely set up these characters and, like, the situation that they're in, and then they just have this kooky scene, and it never recovers. Like, the rest of the movie actually isn't that crazy. Like, it could exist in an Exorcist sequel that, like, you would buy, but it's done under the background of this weird sci-fi, like, supernatural, like, milieu that you're just like, wait, what is going on? But I don't want to underplay like how crazy the rest of the movie is too, because it's pretty crazy. So let's see. So yeah, I mean, the setup is Father Lamont is sent out by the church to investigate this exorcism. And the church is kind of saying, like, Satan is kind of an embarrassment to the liberal church. Like, we kind of want to ignore and get rid of this whole exorcism thing, which apparently is, like, a pretty common theme in exorcism movies, because the other movie we're reviewing after this is The Pope's Exorcist, and it was almost the same kind of deal.
There were a lot of similarities, and, like, especially, like, we'll talk about it on that episode, but that one had similarities to the first Exorcist, I thought. But, like, again, this one just doesn't have similarities to the first Exorcist, except that, like, Father Merrin is, like, a character again, a kind of, just his past is, and then Reagan's in the movie. Like, none of the, I mean, there's of Pazuzu or whatever are the same in this movie than they were in the last movie, which is like, why?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the character of Reagan, it's one of those situations where it's like, it's just insulting to the original, because it undoes, like, the very powerful ending of that movie, which is, good one, in the sense that the girl is free,
right,
of this demon, and this movie says, nah, it's still there, bro.
It was so like, no way, because they got rid of it. Like, that was the whole point of The Exorcist, was that, you know, it went inside Father Merrin, he killed himself, whatever, and then it's gone, and then it went somewhere else. It's not going to possess Reagan anymore. They're all set with it. And then, boom, it still lives in her dreams? Like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, and then it just has this non sequitur of like, no, she's like this gifted, good person that supposedly has like supernatural psychic powers or something like that, and so that's why the demon is after. It's great. So it undoes like the powerful ending of The Exorcist, but also it completely ignores kind of the character of Reagan from the first movie. And like in the end of the first movie, it's like, yeah, Reagan doesn't remember anything about it, but she hugs the priest because she recognizes, you know, that was a symbol of good and that it helped her. So she's like, you're given so much relief knowing that she can't remember anything. Like, it's just a bad thing that happened to her mom and, you know, to the people that died. Right. But the whole point of the first movie is that Reagan is just a typical little girl, you know, 13, 14-ish.
Yeah.
At the time. And then in this movie, she's this weird, just ethereal, otherworldly teenager that you're like, wait, what? This doesn't seem like a normal person at all. And
like she like there's like a little girl that doesn't talk, and she's like, what's your name? And then the little girl like talks, and then the mom like freaks out and it's like, oh, you got her to talk. And it's like, wait, why does she have psychic powers now?
Right.
And she's always wearing white. It's very like,
yeah, white, flowy. Yeah, it's
glowing.
Weird. It's just weird. And then the other thing is like, you know, how they wrote around the mother not being there. It's just like, wait, why that way? Like, because she's just like conspicuously not in the movie, and the only thing they say about her is like, she's real busy, you know, and that's it. She's
divorce. Like, okay,
she's real busy, you know, with work. You know, I guess she's acting somewhere, but no phone call, like no interest at all. Like there's no communication or even mention of her mother after like that first line. And because like I think when they rewrote the script and just rewrote all the scenes with the mother for the nanny or whatever, Sharon, they just didn't bother to add anything. They're just like, because her role in it is this weird parental figure with seeming authority, but she's just the caretaker, but she's never around. She's never even really shown interacting with Reagan, I don't even think.
No, there was like one where like Reagan was like having a dream. She was like under hypnosis. Like, okay, so like her and Father Merrin become, or not Father Merrin, the other guy, Father Lamont. Her and him become like connected through this hypnosis thing, but somehow her and the doctor, or him and the doctor, do not become psychically connected, even though they all did it. But like there was that one point where Reagan was like, I don't know, Pazuzu was doing something, I have no idea, but she was like about to jump off the roof, and Sharon was like, oh my god, what are you doing? And then Reagan was like, fine, and she was like playing with the birds that she has. And that was like the one scene where they were like, where it was shown like Sharon was the caretaker. But the rest of the scenes are Sharon just calling Reagan a little bitch. So like
yeah, it's crazy. And then so they have this sequence, and it shows like, you know, that Reagan is still kind of possessed, and we see kind of how Father Marin died in the original, and that's like the first part of the movie. But then, like, man, I can't even connect it. I just watch it and I can't remember how it goes into Africa. But I think there's a vision.
Yes.
And like
There's a vision.
Father Lamont is shown this vision through the eyes of a locust, I think.
Yeah, he says on the wings of Pazuzu, like the locust is. So this is so hard to like try to figure out. It's like Pazuzu was in this kid Kokumu, and then gets Father Marin had exorcised it out of Kokumu, and then the demon floats around and finds a locust, and then takes while Father Lamont is under a vision. Oh my god, this is so ridiculous. While he's in a vision, or like under the hypnosis thing, he gets on the back of the locust, which is Pazuzu, the demon, and it leads him to a leopard.
Yeah, so I think I can clarify this a little. Okay. It reveals that Pazuzu is the name of the demon, which hadn't been named up to this point. And Pazuzu is this old, god or whatever, that's the demon of everything that takes flight or everything in the air. And so it affects locusts, and like it's kind of like calling card or whatever is these swarm of locusts. And we have these flashbacks to Father Marin, which was Max von Sydow's character in The Exorcist, when he was a younger priest helping with Kokumo, which was possessed by Pazuzu back in Africa. So we see this vision, and Father Lamont sees that this boy exists that was exorcised by Father Marin. And then he makes a trek to Africa. Let's see.
But the guy that he's reporting to, like the cardinal or something, was like, Father Lamont was like, I need to go to Africa. And the cardinal's like, I know we told you to investigate this, but why are you actually investigating it? We don't want you to do that. Like, right. What? Like, I don't understand that. Like, there's like, he was told to like do this covert investigation, and then he's like, I gotta go here for the investigation, and the church is like, you are the worst follower of Christ in the world. It's like, right. What?
Yeah, so he goes and he tracks down. Well, first he finds this like ancient church that's like this like ancient Christian church in the side of this cliff, which is kind of a weird, trippy thing. Mm-hmm. And then like he's trying to track down Kokumo, this guy that was exorcised, and the whole time it's like really weird, like trippy visions and like flashbacks and hallucinations, cutting to these locusts and being able to, and him having visions of flying through the air and stuff. And then he finally finds Kokumo. Okay, yeah. So let's back up. So the first vision is shown, and they're trying to find Kokumo in this vision, and it shows like the locust flying through the air, and then eventually it gets to James Earl Jones dressed as a locust. Is that right?
Yes.
He's dressed as a locust, and then as the locust is approaching him, like a leopard jumps out. Right? Was it a leopard?
Yes.
Or a jaguar or something?
Yeah.
A leopard jumps out and scares him out of the the vision. And they're like, oh, there's a leopard. What the fuck was that? And so he goes down, and like when he's physically there in Africa and he's trying to track him down, and then he like meets Kokumo again in this cave and has this test of faith like in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, like having the walk of faith. And then he fails, but then immediately wakes up and Kokumo is actually like James Earl Jones as a doctor or like a scientist. And you're like, wait, what? What's happening? Like, because it doesn't portray it as a vision at all. And then he wakes up in like a museum or something.
Yeah. Like, that was like the one scene that I was like, we need to talk about this, because he was literally in Ethiopia, like going around to people and asking them where Kokumo is, and like going to like every village that he could, whatever. And then he gets there and you're like, ooh, this is like a spooky scene where he's like in this cave and he has to like walk over these spikes and, you know, test his faith, whatever. He steps, it goes directly through his foot, and then he's like, I failed, and you think he's gonna like fall and die, and then he just like wakes up and James Earl Jones is like, hello, I am Dr. Kokumo, I study locusts. And then, like, I feel like that scene didn't go anywhere either. Like, what the fuck happened?
Well, yeah, and then it has, like, these weird ideas that are kind of glossed over, but, like, are, you know, important to the plot of the movie. Because, okay, so we learn about these locusts that Kokumo has been studying, is that, you know, why do these locusts go crazy and start consuming everything and all the crops? It's like, well, you brush their wings and then they start going crazy. So, like, there's this implication of, like, being brushed by the wings of Pazuzu.
Yeah.
And that drives people crazy. And Kokumo is trying to fight against it by breeding, like, the good locusts that won't freak out when their wings are brushed.
Whatever that means.
And so it's like this weird, like, take on good and evil and trying to figure out how to combat the evil with, you know, good. And so, like, there's these, like, you know, cutaways to Reagan. So they're implying that, oh, yes, Reagan is going to be this good girl that's going to, you know, have a positive effect on this locust swarm of demons, I guess.
Yeah.
I think where did I make that note? Yeah, because they say, like, Father Marin was studying a boy who could send away locusts. That was Kokumo.
Yeah, that was Kokumo.
Or was he tracking them? Or was he attracting them? Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, so does does great goodness attract great evil? Was like the theory that they're opposing.
And that comes
it's
back
supposed to be
end.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a theme throughout the movie, which is interesting, but it's just so awkward how they executed on it. It like doesn't ring true at all.
Yeah. And I guess they're trying to like frame like with Reagan's like ability to like help people, like they're framing her as like this really good person, like this extremely good, like angelic person, like you said. And it's like, so they're trying to like exemplify that like theme through her, but it's like, why is she such a good person? Like what was the background to that? We're as an audience, we're just supposed to sit here and be like, oh yes, this girl who was possessed and now isn't, is just like, now she has all these abilities to be the best person on earth. And it's like, I just, like, there was no setup to that. And like, she's also kind of still possessed a little bit. So
Yeah, and they like split. They give her like a split personality, because anytime they show possessed, okay, oh my god,
yeah.
this is so crazy. So they show possessed Reagan, but it's not Linda Blair; it's someone else in makeup.
Yeah.
First of all,
I noticed that.
But then also they show sexy Reagan, which is also possessed, but has eyeliner and is down to fuck.
That was the funniest goddamn thing. I was like, wait, guys, we need to back up. Like,
right.
Why is there like a possessed one, and then her makeup goes away, and then she's like in this like agent provocateur lingerie? Like, come here, father. Like,
yeah, it's crazy. So I mean, the only thing that we see Reagan doing that like shows her as this great force of good is she helps that autistic girl talk again.
right.
And that's it. Like, there's nothing. I guess she has the power to psychically do that. I guess it's never explained or like touched on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it cuts back and forth between like Africa, where these weird scenes are going on, and the the underground of Westworld. So let's talk about this psychiatric institute a little bit.
Okay.
It's like this honeycomb of like full length glass.
I don't understand why you would go to therapy if like everyone could see inside your therapy session.
It's so distracting because they basically, in the background, when Reagan's like talking with the doctor or stuff is going on, you can see a bunch of neurodivergent children in the background, and
Yep.
also this giant foam nut that they're rolling across the ground.
Oh my
They
god.
feature this foam nut like prominently, and I'm like, are they making a joke that they have,
Like that
this
they're
is a
nuts?
nut house?
Yeah.
And it's just so distracting. Like, what is going on here? Because it's like a place to give therapy, but it also seems kind of like a prison for mentally ill people, but also a hospital, because there's like hospital beds. It's just
nurses. Like, there's nurses there. We talked to one of them, I think, at some point.
yeah, it's that's right. The other scene that I got a kick out of that was unintentionally hilarious was like, oh, Father Lamont, Reagan just drew this picture of you, and it just shows him in flame, like being tortured in flame, just like, ah! And then she has zero reaction to it, and she's like, yeah, she's a really good drawer, isn't she?
All she says.
Just
That's it. That's all
you're like, what? We're just gonna gloss over that he's in flames in this picture?
Well, right after that, he says something about being in the fire, and then him and the doctor like stumble upon a fire in the like.
No, it's worse than that. They don't stumble upon it. He looks at the picture and he's like, oh no, there's a fire somewhere. And so he gets the doctor and says, there's a fire somewhere in the building. And they go down in the basement and find this fire.
What the fuck?
And then I can't even remember what was on fire, if that had any impact on the story at all. But then he like stands up, and then the doctor looks at him and sees like the same like 3 flames around his head that were in the picture. And you're like, okay. Okay. So
Yeah, the foreshadowing in this movie does not work. Like, it does not work. Like, it's like supposed to be that picture, that fire, which they could have just done the picture and you would have been like, okay, so something is going to happen to him, or like something will test his faith or something. But then
right, it could have been like The Omen with the picture of the spear going through him or something, in the pictures.
Exactly.
But no, they had to just deliver on it instantly. They're like, no, there's a fire. We got to go find the fire. And they find it, and that's it. So, I mean, I guess that tells you that Reagan is psychic and can tell the future.
Yeah, but like
or
that
something
also is like kind of, I don't know, like all of these things that Reagan can do are exemplified like one time, and then the rest of it is just like, oh, she has Pazuzu dreams and she's like connected to this demon that's connected to Father Lamont. and they're all connected to each other. I'm like, okay. Like, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nonsense. It's crazy. And then there are some great scenes in Africa. There's the most awkward fall scene that I've ever seen in my life. It shows like someone falling down the crack of this cliff. So yeah, okay.
I forget which scene.
So this church is on the cliff.
You have to like climb
but
up.
also you have to climb up through a crevice in the rock.
Yeah.
So that implies that at the top there's another level of rock that you can just step over the crevice. Because like there's rock behind their back. Anyways, but this guy falls down and it's this weird slow-mo of this fall, and it's like oh yeah, I'm hitting rocks. Like it's so weird. I will say, like the African church, like that ancient church, is pretty cool. Like that's a pretty cool set piece, and like there are some like glimpses of like, oh, this could be an interesting like element in a sequel to The Exorcist, because like that's the part of The Exorcist in the opening which is kind of weird. Like it's very intriguing that Father Marin is this archaeologist and like uncovers this weird ancient evil kind of thing, and like there's a lot there and a lot of moodiness and like just the unease of being in a foreign land and being around weird looking people. Not that foreigners are weird looking, but there was definitely some weird looking people in The Exorcist that they focused on. And so like that element was in here, but it's just like a pit stop on the way to just craziness later.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of really good set pieces and like shots that I was like, wow, this movie shot like would make for a good movie. Like you would see this shot. Like there was one where Father Lamont was trying to find Kokumo, and he's like super lost, and there's like a little village behind him with people like hanging laundry, and like the sun is setting and like it's right behind his head, and I was like, that's a cool shot. Like that's beautiful. Like the colors, it's sunset, like he's all lost, like there's a lot of emotion in that scene, but then you're like, you could have done like whoever like filmed it, like the cinematographer is awesome, but like I don't know. Like the director had some good points, but then the rest falls flat. I don't know.
I mean, he's a good director. Like he did Deliverance. He did Excalibur. I'm not kind of huge fan of Excalibur, but that's a notable movie.
I haven't seen it.
But yeah, it's not a lot of faith in him after watching this movie.
Nope.
Okay, so the ending is just puts a cap on it, because they do the scene again with the interocitor, with this hypnosis machine or whatever, and let me see if I can find the clip of the interocitor. Just a second.
Oh my god, yes.
No, this is the reference I'm making, not the actual scene.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
It's finally arrived.
Ooh.
Morning.
Morning.
Sign here.
Wilt Chamberlain.
Well, I'll read this on the crapper.
Catherman tube with an endium complex of +4.
What are they talking about?
I don't know, but this outfit has them. This isn't paper. Some kind of map.
I can't. I should have pulled it up at a bare spot, but like, yeah, there's this scientific machine just called the interocitor, and they keep referencing it in this movie, and it's very much like, what is it? Oh no, it's the interocitor. Like, are you playing with the interocitor again? So anyways, they hook up with this machine, and then inadvertently Father Lamont gets possessed by Pazuzu.
That's
at
what
this
happened?
point.
I was like, what the... Why won't he talk? It just, like, didn't make sense.
Right.
Oh,
And so he gets possessed, and then they go back to Georgetown, to the original house, and it just turns into full-on Ghostbusters at the end. It's like...
That's a good way to describe it.
Like, it's just so wacky, because it's like Pazuzu starts like trying to get Father Lamont to fuck Reagan, I guess.
But it
Because
wasn't rape?
Reagan is sexy Reagan again, and she's like seducing him, but Reagan's also... it's such a blur. Like, I can't remember if like there's two Reagans or not.
There were.
And
There were two Reagans, because you saw them in the same room, and like the real Reagan was like in the corner, like screaming and crying, and the other, because like the bad Reagan in the bed was like, kill her. And so like Father Lamont goes to like kill her, and the other Reagan's like, ha 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 ha. It's like so stupid.
yeah. And then there's like a swarm of locusts that come and start destroying the house. And
that was so funny.
And then, yeah, it's just... And then the house basically just crumbles. Oh, and also Sharon goes crazy and sets fire to herself.
Yeah.
In front of Dr. What's her name? And, yeah, it just ends in this over-the-top, like... Yeah, Ghostbusters ending. It's crazy, and then in the end, they win against Pazuzu.
Yeah, the entire house gets like ripped off the earth.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote down like the end 20 minutes is corny, but at least there was action, because the rest of the movie there was like nothing. There was
most of the movie is very slow. Like,
it's
a lot of like, especially like the Pazuzu, like flying through the air scenes. It felt very... Have you ever been to Disney World or Disneyland?
Oh my God, like a million times.
Have you been on Soarin'? The ride Soarin'?
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like.
It was like Soarin' through Africa with Pazuzu. It was Pazuzu's Soarin' adventure. For like a long stretch of this movie.
Yep.
And then there's long stretches of just looking at Richard Burton expressionless, saying nothing.
For
and it was like
so long.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's
shit, man.
It's crazy.
But I mean, the end, like, it was at least fun. Like, I honestly laughed a lot. Like, you know, when, like, I don't know what was happening in the house, but, like, the doctor and Sharon were in the cab, and then the cab starts, like, spinning, and the windshield breaks, and he's like, I can't control the car, and then he just, like, straight up just punches a hole in the windshield. I thought that was, like, I laughed my ass off at that. I thought it was so funny.
Yeah, it's, and then like the doctor gets stuck in the car and is like, Sharon, help me, and she's like, no, I gotta go set myself on fire.
Yep. R.I.P. Sharon.
Yeah, just a weird movie, but yeah, I mean the scene with them hypnotizing each other and then like stepping in. It's so hilarious and such a weird scene, and then like
my cat,
the weird nonsensical like African scenes and hallucinations that you're never given any insight into, and then the ending where, you know, with sexy Reagan trying to fuck Father Lamont. Apparently in the original script, like Father Lamont was gonna rape her or something like that.
Oh,
which would have been pretty intense, and I'm pretty sure what's her name, Linda Blair, was like, no, we're not gonna do that.
Yeah, good.
But even then, like, it was still kind of a sex scene, and it was, I'm sure, super awkward. Like, Linda Blair was only 17 while this movie was being filmed.
Yeah, that's
Richard Burton's
gross.
like in his 50s. Yeah, it was rough. But yeah, I mean, it's like when you're comparing it to The Exorcist, you're like, I think that's the problem with exorcism movies and like why The Exorcist hasn't ever been surpassed.
Never.
Is that no one goes far enough, and it's like no one can touch it, like, just because they don't approach the taboo nearly enough. Like, if there was an actual rape scene of Reagan in this movie, that would have been like, okay, that is pretty fucking intense for just this weird movie.
Yeah.
And it would be like, I guess that's pretty evil. But I mean, just like the scenes in The Exorcist still hold up, because it's like a little girl and she's masturbating with a crucifix and like shoving her mom's head into her crotch, and it's like, that is so gross and dirty and evil that like you actually believe it, that it's like, oh, this isn't a human, this is someone that just doesn't understand the rules of war, of being alive as a human. Like, you just don't masturbate with a crucifix. You just don't.
No, you just you wouldn't do that. I don't know. Maybe some.
I mean, I wouldn't tell you. I won't tell you what to do. But I mean, just personally, my beliefs, my standards. I don't masturbate with a crucifix.
Yeah.
Personally.
Okay. Thank you for.
So, anyways, yeah, it doesn't do the original any justice at all.
Nope.
It's famously a terrible movie. Like, I think there was some list that listed it as the second worst movie of all time, just below Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Yeah, I mean, that's an old Ed Wood movie.
Okay.
That's like kind of, that's like kind of The Room before The Room.
Okay, maybe I'll watch it.
Yeah, that one's crazy. But yeah, I can't think of any other sequel that's been so far off base compared to this one. It's amazing.
No, because it's like you either like for sequels you have to go like the complete opposite direction, where it makes people be like, wow, this is like so interesting and so far off that it's like good, or you have to like try to like overdo or like make it better than the first, like, and I don't know I guess they were trying to go the first route where it's like, oh, we're gonna go so totally different from the first one and it's gonna be good. But I feel like if you have to pull it from theaters twice and rewrite it and recut it, you don't have a good movie on your hands.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those that I just don't understand why the studio wouldn't step in and be like, wait, what are we doing here? Like, what's going on? But I think it's like just too many rewrites, too many acquiescence to the actors' demands and stuff, and too many compromises. It's truly fascinating.
Yeah.
How bad of a movie this was. That being said, who do you think would like this, or who would you recommend Exorcist 2, The Heretic to?
I honestly think that, I've been watching horror movies for, 13 years of my life. It's like, I think that people who love horror movies should watch movies like this, because it's, kind of like a... I don't know. You kind of gotta see the sequels to these famous movies. I feel like if you're a horror fan, you gotta just try it out. If it sucks, it sucks. But watching shitty horror movies is fun. So I feel like fans of horror would like this.
Yeah, I mean, fans of The Exorcist, it is, man, I mean, now that I think of it, going from The Exorcist to The Exorcist 2 to The Exorcist 3, The Exorcist 2 is kind of like an amuse-bouche. It's like completely clears the palette of anything that you liked about the first one.
Yep.
And then Exorcist 3, is also different, but is actually respectful to the original, and explores something in a new way, that isn't just a rehash. So yeah, it's an oddity. It's definitely one to watch with friends or someone that can make fun of it, because it is kooky. It's a kooky movie.
Definitely.
Yeah. So anyways, let's move on to Exorcist or not Exorcist. I couldn't think of a good title for it. Date modify. Where did I save this thing? Uh-oh. Hold on. I didn't have it pulled up. So in this game, I've got several pieces of trivia about several movies. And you have to decide whether it is a sequel or prequel to The Exorcist.
Okay.
Or not having any relation to The Exorcist. But just some other exorcism movie. Okay, so first, this is a film. Okay, and you get an extra point if you can name the title of the movie.
All right.
Why not?
Cool.
Okay. This is a film directed by Rennie Harlin, who also directed Die Hard 2 and Cliffhanger. So was there ever an Exorcist movie directed by Rennie Harlin?
I really wish I didn't tell you that I've only seen the first and the second Exorcist now, because, like, I'm gonna be bad at this, but, I've never seen Die Hard 2 or Cliffhanger, so...
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Lost
to the sands of time.
It's like, I know, I'm sorry. I have homework, okay? I'll do it.
Wow. Wow. You know, actually, Die Hard 2 is another example of a sequel that just wastes the original movie in terms of tone and stuff. But anyways, yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to say that there was an Exorcist movie directed by that person.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, which Exorcist was it?
Well, it wasn't.
I'll give you the full list of the Exorcist movies, just so you know.
Cool.
There's The Exorcist. There's no movies. There's none in here that are The Exorcist. There's The Exorcist 2, The Heretic, Exorcist 3, Legion. There's Exorcist: The Beginning, and then Dominion, a prequel to The Exorcist.
And oh wow, there's a lot more than I thought. Well, if I'm gonna use,
they're almost all terrible, other than Exorcist 3. Exorcist 3 is the only sequel prequel that's worth a damn, in my opinion.
All right, I'll definitely have to watch that. But I don't know. If you're saying that Die Hard 2 is kind of like The Exorcist 2, I'm going to say that it's probably the Dominion one.
This is Exorcist: The Beginning.
Yeah.
So close.
So close.
So close. Okay. All right. In this movie, Laura Linney plays a lawyer for Tom Wilkinson, playing a Catholic priest on trial for the death of a young woman that died during an exorcism.
That's not an Exorcist movie.
Correct. Do you know the movie?
It sounds familiar because I know Laura Linney, but it's not like that movie Primal Fear. It's not that, because that's a guy where,
and also not an exorcism movie.
No, it's not. That's just a murder with priests and stuff.
Right.
Shit. No, I don't know.
You're gonna kick yourself. It's The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Fuck, I've seen that!
I know, yeah.
Oh, fuck, I totally forgot. Oh, it's been a while, but shit. I like horror movies, guys, I promise.
Okay, this movie, a troubled evangelical minister agrees to his last exorcism being filmed by a documentary crew.
Documentary. That's throwing me off.
Well, first, is it an Exorcist or not The Exorcist?
Yeah. But I'll say not.
Correct. It's not related to The Exorcist.
I feel like I've seen this movie. I probably
You've
have.
probably seen it, yeah.
There's so many exorcism movies, it's insane.
It is crazy. I think I'll give you a hint. This one is starring a guy that also stars in Better Call Saul.
Shit. I've seen this movie. I know that I have. Is it like The Last Exorcism or something?
You're correct.
Yes!
It's the Last Exorcism. Okay. This movie featured the voice of Chucky, Brad Dourif, being possessed by a serial killer demon.
Okay, I'm gonna say that is an Exorcist movie.
Bold choice. And the correct choice. It is an Exorcist movie.
Oh my god. Okay. Let me see. Well, it's obviously not the second one. I'll go with the third. I'll go with Exorcist 3.
Correct.
Yeah!
It's The Exorcist 3.
Hell yeah.
It's a good one.
Oh, I'm definitely watching it.
Okay, beneath a church in Africa lies the ruins of an even older temple, but not a Christian one. Rather, in the ruins under the church, a priest and his allies find demonic icons and other signs of evil and Satanism.
Okay.
It's a major plot point.
Fuck. All right.
Pretty similar to the Pope's Exorcist that we just watched.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's not the Pope's Exorcist.
It's not, because
it wasn't in Africa.
No.
Yeah.
I'll say it's an Exorcist movie.
Okay.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
It is.
Okay.
And guess on the movie title.
Is it the one we watched? No, it's not. Obviously.
No.
They said
this was
temple. Yeah.
This was Exorcist: The Beginning. Again, there was two that were Exorcist: The Beginning.
Oh.
All right. Let's see. In this one, after an evening of skinny dipping goes disastrously wrong, Gretchen, played by 8th grade's Elsie Fisher, begins to act different.
Okay.
Some of these I just wanted to include because of the title.
Well, then that has to be, like, newer, because she's young.
Right. Yeah. I didn't say that these were all hard.
Yeah, so this is not an Exorcist movie.
Not an exorcism movie. Got a guess on the title?
No.
This was My Best Friend's Exorcism.
Oh, shit, really? I've never even heard of that. That's a silly title.
Okay, let's do. Okay, last one.
Okay,
last one.
Cool.
There's a mysterious naked woman who gets her picture taken near a waterfall. When the picture is developed, the woman's image is gone, but the guy that took the picture is possessed by her ghost through a cursed amulet he finds at the scene.
Holy shit. That's a lot going on right there. I'll say that is an Exorcist movie.
Oh, so close. No, it's not.
Okay.
But the title is The Return of the Exorcist.
Oh.
It was released in 1975, so it was an Italian film, probably riding the coattails of the Exorcist phenomena.
That makes sense.
Okay, well, that was Exorcist or Not Exorcist.
I like that. That was fun. I didn't keep track of my points, though. So.
Yeah. Let's just say you won. You won. Great job.
Woo!
You actually got a lot more of the Exorcist ones than I thought you would.
Process of elimination.
Okay, so that's our episode for today. Thank you for joining us again. We need your help getting the show cranking again. So if you could leave a review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, that helps us out a lot. We want to thank our patrons for sticking around with us. We're, gonna make the show great again. And thanks to Sydney for coming on the show and helping me out. And, share your thoughts and opinions on the people that are auditioning with me. You don't have to do it publicly, but we'll probably have a discussion as a community later on about, how these shows are going. And I think Sydney did a great job, and we're going to start recording The Pope's Exorcist after this.
Woohoo!
On our exorcism theme, I guess. Again, if you want to leave a voicemail, call 682-253-4468. And until next time, we'll see ya. Bye.
Bye.
Good day, sir. Good day, sir. You lose. You get nothing.
Is that a raincoat? Yes, it is.
I just took a stroll through the scraggly woods.
He had no face.
Horror!
Wow, that didn't sound good.
Okay.